What's good, everyone? This is your host, Tarad Rashan, and you are now listening to the Taradcast podcast. If you are new to our show and this is your first time listening, welcome. If you are a returning listener coming back for another weekly dose of awesome conversation, welcome back. At Taradcast, you can take everything we say with a grain of salt. We simply just want to add some flavor to your meal. So if we are doing that, then we are doing our job. Today is Mother's Day. I just want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out here, especially all the mothers who are listening to my show. And today's episode is actually going to be centered around a certain kind of mother, especially one that's very prevalent in my community. So without further ado, today's topic, the art of single motherhood. This is Taradcast. Let's get it. All right, everyone. Welcome. Again, I am your host, Tarad Rashan, and this is the Taradcast podcast. I hope that everyone is doing well. Today, it is Mother's Day. I'm actually recording on Mother's Day, and I just, once again, want to give a shout out to all the mothers out here, those who have been blessed with the ability to create life, and even those mothers who may have lost life. I still want to say you are a mother, you are valued, and you will always have a special place in my heart. Happy Mother's Day to my wife. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my grandmom, everybody who is responsible, every woman who is responsible for helping all of us to get here. Happy Mother's Day. And I hope that every day for you is Mother's Day and not just the commoditized American, buy everything for your mom on this day type day. I hope every day it's Mother's Day for you. So let's go ahead and take care of some housekeeping details. Now, if you would like to take our show with you on the go, just know that we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Podchaser, Castbox, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and YouTube. Taradcast is also on Throne. Now, Throne is a free live messaging application that allows us here at Taradcast to exclusively reach our listeners. Make sure to sign up if you'd like to keep the conversations going after the episode. Also, if you're looking for natural oils for ultimate hydration and care for your hair and skin, hit up the Resilient Lotus at www.theresilientlotus.com. And lastly, but not least, if you are a lover of authentic chunky salsas, make sure to reach out to Morenitas Salsitas. As always, this information will be in our episode notes. Okay, so the title of this episode is The Art of Single Motherhood. And so what I first want to go into is the cookie cutter story that I hear. Now, I've been watching and consuming media for probably somewhere close to 28 and a half of the years that I've been alive. and in this process, there's a lot of things I've seen a lot of shows, and the shows that I watch now and some of the others that I come across, a lot of those shows have been competitive shows, competitions, and it's very entertaining to watch these shows because you see all kinds of people who are all gunning for one prize. They all have one goal. It's one thing. It's tunnel vision for everyone. And as far as some of those shows I can think of, like right off the top of my head, some of those are like World of Dance, Songland, Rhythm and Flow, Shark Tank, American Idol, The Voice, America's Got Talent, MasterChef, Iron Chef, like all kinds of shows and competitions where the people just, they come together, and it is a free for all for that particular, setting and atmosphere. And a lot of these shows feature various people from all walks of life who come to show the world what they have to give. Now, one of the things that sticks out to me is always the stories of the contestants. Now, some of these contestants come from humble beginnings. Some come with silver spoons in their mouth. Some were dared to audition or to try out. Others live and breathe the craft that they're showcasing. One of the coolest things about us as humans, especially in this type of atmosphere, is that no matter where we come from, our individual journeys can lead us to a common destination, and we have the opportunity to meet other people who are on this journey with us, parallel, that we probably wouldn't have even met before. But because we're all moving in the same direction and we're in the same place, we have the opportunity to forge those types of relationships with those people. And I think that that's really, really cool. But amongst those stories that I often see and hear about, especially when it comes to the contestants, the people that we're watching, the people that we're rooting for, there's a select few that tend to have eerie similarities, as if their stories are cut from a certain cloth template. Now, when I say this, I want to go over some of those details for you, because in my head, stories like these have specific traits. 3 traits that I've been able to identify, to be exact. We can call this a trifecta, if you will. Now, the first trait in some of the stories that I hear is this: my father left me and my mom before I was born or when I was really young. Now, in some cases, the fathers may be in the criminal justice system, or maybe they've died. But oftentimes I hear that the father left the mom and the child either before they were born or when the child was really young, too young to remember. Now, the second trait is my mother worked 2 to 3 jobs to provide for me and or my siblings. And the third trait, I was raised and or taken in by the church. And I feel like I more so hear that one when it comes to like those who are like the singers and stuff like that. Like they grew up in the church took them in, they were singing in the church, things like that, something that's church related. Now, let me ask you this: when you hear these 3 specific things, what kind of person comes to your mind? Now, I'm not going to be offended if your thought is the same as my thought, because if you guessed a black person, then you've accurately predicted the familial storyline for roughly more than half of black households in the United States today. Now, that is crazy, because this is where the impact is really, really felt. You know, this is where the impact is really felt, because I see and hear stories like this all the time. And you know what? Maybe it's just the people being put in front of us, but the story is oftentimes the same one roughly 90% of the time that I'm consuming media. You know, I look at other races of people, and mostly I see whole family units. Like I'm not one of those kinds of people who is looking for something wrong when I see a certain person. But when I notice patterns, I can't help but to identify those patterns and really think about what those patterns mean. Because while I'm not dense enough to believe that single mother households are specifically a Black American thing, I am smart enough to know that the majority of our men play an active role when it comes to creating single mother households. Now, trends found in stories like these are socioeconomic. Most Black men who have sex with Black women are unfit or, in many cases, underprepared for potential fatherhood. And that's just the meat and potatoes of it. Most Black men enjoy sex and being thought of as a sexually dominant force in the bedroom. But when it comes to being a cohesive partner and creating a family unit, they're absent all of a sudden. Now, and again, I can understand that for a long time in this country, there were systems put into place that prohibited Black men, Black families from succeeding. When we came together in Tulsa and had a flourishing community of people who looked only like us, it was bombed and destroyed and massacred because white people at that time did not know what to do with us because they couldn't do anything with us. We didn't need them. But I understand that the systems that were once legal here in the United States still have some lingering effects on the way that certain people are looked at and certain people are treated. But at the same time, right here and right now, the opportunities that have the potential to be afforded to all of us are plentiful. They're more plentiful now than ever. So we cannot use a lot of those same excuses that would have been valid somewhere close to 30 to 40 years ago. You know, and that's just me. That's just me. I would love to go into this conversation further because so many resources are out here now where if we want information, we can obtain it. We're not restricted from it. But a lot of our men, a lot of us men continue to remain ignorant. And that is going to do nothing but continue to perpetuate the broken families that we are creating out of our own irresponsibility. But aside from that, last night, I recently was made aware of the versus battle between Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, and I got the opportunity to sit and watch that on Instagram Live. Now, to me, that battle wasn't even a battle. It was a display of mutual love, respect, and admiration between two magical Black women. Michelle Obama was even in the chat just going off. Like it was such a wonderful thing to see. So many celebrities, so many people just watching these two women, these two Black women. If you were not able to tune in yesterday, I highly recommend rewatching it because I believe it will moisturize your whole soul. I do not say this lightly. You know, it was such a wonderful display. It was such a wonderful showing of love between these two women. But in the midst of that, my wife and I were talking and she brought up a good point. In our conversation, she asked me, are these two women married? Are they married? And I was like, no, not to my knowledge. And we looked it up. Sure enough, they're not married. And in our conversation, She mentioned that despite the power and magic of these women, despite the fact that these two women are literally looked at as like the goddess standard of Black women, they are still someone's baby mama. And that really hit me. These melanin abundant goddesses are single mothers. They're baby mamas. Now, when I say baby mama, this does not in any way decrease their value as a human being. I just want to make that clear. Their value as people, as creators, as Black women was validated far beyond this realization came to mind. And so when I use the term baby mamas here, I'm not using it as a term to demean. I'm not using it to diminish their value. So I just want to make sure I make that part clear. But what I am saying, and what it also says, is that there aren't enough men, to me, who can complement the divine masculine and feminine energy needed to sustain and maintain healthy relationships and partnerships with Black women. Also, I'm not dense enough to believe that men are the sole problem and women can't be at fault. These situations do occur as well. However, in the grand scheme of scenarios, we see the men fleeing from the relationship or the situationship while the woman is left to raise the child he helped to create. Another point that was brought up is that Black women are the women who are there for a Black man when he's in the trenches, when he's in the dirt. A Black woman is here to show the Black man his value so that he can face the world with a full sense of purpose and self. I look at the more famous men that Erykah Badu dated, and it's like I look at Common, I look at Andre 3000, I look at Jay Electronica. And it's like there is a before Erykah Badu and then an after Erykah Badu. And you see two different people on either side of Erykah Badu. And the thing that they have in common is Erykah Badu. I am convinced that she knows how to truly bring out the magic of Black men. But the thing is, do Black men know, and also do they want to also bring out the magic in Black women? That's the real question. Can they do the same thing? And sadly, I don't believe a lot of us can. Only a certain amount of us who really want to understand and really want to get it, only a certain amount of us can. And that's the thing. When it comes to our encounters with Black women, we meet them while we are at the lowest point, and they're helping us, they're shaping us, they're molding us, they're preparing us to send ourselves out into the world and to advocate for them. But the thing is, when that Black man makes it out of the trenches into the realm where struggle doesn't exist, he finds that he dons a new identity and he adapts a new worldview, and he sheds the older worldview, which oftentimes includes the very woman that built him up and prepared him for the new life. As Kanye once famously said, and when he get on, he'll leave your ass for a white girl. That's true. A lot of Black men look at Black women, despite everything poured into them by Black women, as the bottom of the barrel. Any woman that is not Black, or the farthest away from Black, even in skin tone, is looked at as an upgrade. A white woman is looked at as an upgrade. A Kardashian type woman is looked at as an upgrade. An Asian, whatever. If they're not Black or they're not dark skinned, they're looked at as an upgrade. And that's a shame. That is a complete and utter shame. And the thing is, while these black men were in the trenches with these black women, they were creating kids. And because of this, many kids grow up with an unresolved pain. Now, this pain also pushes them forward. It pushes them to live and to overcome and to succeed. Yeah, it does that. But it's not something that should have been established in the first place, in my opinion. But with that being said, we're going to take our commercial break. We're going to get some water. And we are going to get hydrated, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about progressing through the pain. So stay hydrated, have your water close by, and stay tuned. This is Torodcast. We'll be right back. Yo, what's good, everyone? This is your host of Torodcast, Tarad Rashan, and I just want to welcome you to the commercial break. Now, you already know what time it is. It's hydration time. Get some high-quality H2O in your system now. Got a few things I'd like to go over. First, to all of our new and returning listeners, thank you so much for your ear and your time. To all of our Patreon supporters, I just want you to know that we are not able to do this without your direct support. So the biggest, dopest Torodcast thank you goes out to you. If you're listening in and you're thinking about becoming part of the Torodcast Patreon family, we'd love to have you. You can find us at www.patreon.com/Torodcast. Now on Patreon, we have 3 tiers of support. A $2 tier, a $3 tier, and lastly, a $6 tier. Each tier comes with its own set of unique perks. So if you find one that fits you, sign up. For us, the main thing is keeping our subscription prices affordable. We know that you work hard for your money, and if you choose to support Torodcast this way, we truly want to make it worth your time. To find out more about our Patreon and the perks with each tier, visit www.patreon.com/Torodcast. We've got it all laid out for you. Also, we've got a merchandise store. Pick up some tees, hoodies, leggings, and more at forevercertain.redbubble.com. All proceeds go right back into the Torodcast podcast and allow us to keep making high quality content for people just like you. For our listeners out there who would like to support us in a non-monetary way, we'd love that too. Share our show with people you know. Also, share us on your social media. And if your favorite Torodcast streaming service allows you to rate and review our show and you're loving what you're hearing, take some time and leave us a 5-star review. Ratings and reviews are what set us apart from other podcasts, and also helps us to recommend our podcast to other listeners we otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to reach. Lastly, if you'd like to reach out to us directly, email us at Torodcast@CRTN-T.com. That's Torodcast@CRTN-T.com. All of this information can always be found in our episode notes, so make sure to check there if you forget any of the information we just went over. Once again, thank you all so much, and let's get back to the program. Welcome back, everyone. This is Torodcast, and again, I am your host, Tarad Rashan, and today we are talking about the art of single motherhood. Now, let's go ahead and continue with our topic. So, today, I'm over here thinking I'm beginning the show. Right now, we are talking about progressing through the pain. So, what happens to those children whose fathers ditch the mothers and live separate lives? Well, a lot of those fathers create separate families when they're good and ready to do so. I've actually seen this happen in my own family. Yeah, I have. But for the children, many of them are forced into a reality that has quickly become a statistical norm for many black households. The reality that says, my father left us. Now it's just me and my mom. Going back to the story trifecta that I talked about earlier, one of the major components in the story that the absent black father creates is the responsibility of the mother to create a pain-free, stress-free life for her child. Oftentimes, the mother, like we stated before, has to work while simultaneously putting her entire life on hold for the sake of playing the following roles: parent, financial provider, teacher, life coach, cheerleader, nurse, and police. Now, men are not just the breadwinners like they were in yesteryear. Women have continued to rise and cement themselves as powerful, more than capable assets in both the blue-collar and white-collar realms. Despite challenges with wage gap disparity, women still have every possibility of earning enough to support themselves and their children without a man being present. That says a lot about our times right now, because, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, this was unheard of, but there are way more self-sustaining women now than ever before. And that is such a wonderful thing. But the thing is this: I just hate that in most cases, the men just walk away. I feel like there's a lot of selfishness, a lack of acceptance, responsibility, and compromise necessary to make a family work. And it's like, I feel like men are at the brunt of taking all of this selfishness. Like, it's crazy how selfish we can be. I mean, I'm all for co-parenting, and I also agree that in the grand scheme, some people were only brought together to put on baby making music and follow the directions. But it doesn't change the fact that the mom, in most cases, is solely responsible for the care, protection, and upbringing of the child. Now, one of the things that also really gets to me is knowing that there are children who grow up with a hole in their heart because their dad is nowhere to be seen, yet they see other children with fathers. Again, I'm not gullible enough to believe that simply having a father in the home is enough to change a child's perspective on life, but I know that having two equally involved parents is more beneficial to a growing child's outlook and belief system. When I think about the shows that I've watched, I see those kids in their first few years of true adulthood. Because, in most of these competitions, you have to be either close to being a legal adult or a legal adult in order to, compete. But I see them in the first few years of true adulthood. And in that time, they're beaming with new talent. They're beaming with skill. They're beaming with intellect. Whatever it is that they have pushed themselves to achieve. And then they tell their story. And you see that everything they've worked to achieve, and everything they've worked to go on to accomplish as a young adult is due in major part to watching their mom give up her life to support and take care of them and help them to facilitate their dream. It's really prevalent in a lot of the competitive shows. Like I was saying before, it's like the child is competing and looking to try and win it all so they can pay their moms back for sacrificing everything to bring them to this opportunity. This joy, this starry-eyed hopefulness, to me, is still rooted in pain. It is the resilience of a single mother and the adaptability of a fatherless child that has become a recurring socioeconomic norm for Black Americans, and I hate that. This is why stories like this make me mad, because it's becoming such a staple for the Black American experience that you're not doing it right if you're not following this template. For me, and when I think about men here, it looks like this: knock up a bunch of women, leave a potential trail of broken families, and years later, decide that you finally want to settle down and have a family. for women, it's almost like it's live life knowing that the man you believe you love might leave you, and also leave you with a child. Y'all, okay, let me be real with y'all for a second. For the longest time, back when I was online dating on websites like Plenty of Fish and Match, I had literally resolved in my mind that I was going to have to accept being a stepdad. Like I really had to like accept that. I had to just tell myself that, you know what, the reality is during this time you may meet someone and they may already have a child or children, and you're just gonna have to be okay with that. You know, for me, it's never really been a deal breaker, but it was something that I had to like prepare for, you know, because that's what the trend felt like, you know, and I don't know. I really had to make it up in my mind because it was something that I knew I would have to get over really quick. And it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't a bad thing. It's just something that I needed to just like prepare for just in case I was going to meet somebody's kid, you know? And the thing is, it's not a bad thing because I love kids. I've always loved kids. But the possibility of being someone's dad before I ever had sex was daunting. I thought I was going to be the very first virgin stepfather. Yeah. These were the thoughts of the 19 to 21-year-old me. But when I think about myself now, when I think about what it means to be a husband and a father now, and to see the stories of each and every young adult striving to overcome the effect of a father's absence in their life, it just breaks my heart. Because I don't know, I hate seeing that. That's why my heart truly goes out to single mothers out here. Despite these chapters being continuously and somehow routinely ripped out of the pages of you and your child's story, you continue to persevere. You continue to push forward. And I admire that. So with that being said, we're going to take one more break. And after that, we're going to be reaching the tail end of our show because I got a lot of love for the single mothers out here. And I really want to express that. So make sure you still have your water or your wine. Make sure you take a sip and we'll be right back. This is Rodcast. Alrighty, y'all, welcome back. I hope you all were hydrated. We are now approaching the last third of the show, so I hope that you all have been enjoying it thus far. I'm going to try and dial this in and hopefully get to a place where you all can feel where I'm coming from when it comes to my love for single mothers and everything that you've done and continue to do for your children out here. So when it comes to this episode title, there's so much to it, the art of single motherhood, because I feel like most men, namely and specifically the no good ones, the selfish ones, have made creating single moms an art form. because the amount of cookie cutter stories that come from broken Black homes is astounding to me. So many of our men have perfected the art of walking out. And in perfecting the art of walking out, they're perfecting the art of single motherhood in its creation. I also feel like the product that comes from the lives lived by the mother and child is also art. Thinking about all of the odds being surmounted and the love that mother and child share, as well as who they both grow to be, warms my heart. But it causes me to just sigh sometimes. Yes, Sayla.
Are you in the car?
Huh? No, I'm doing my podcast, girl. Come here. Come here. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, bye. Oh man. Yeah. It just causes me to sigh sometimes because it's just like I know where it comes from. It's like seeing that and watching that, and it's like I want to feel really good. But I know that a lot of this comes from pain. I just you know, I hate that a host of issues, disagreements, and misunderstandings keep men distant. I hate that the only way to make most Black men get involved in a child's life or just in that broken family's life in general is through the court system. It's through the legal system. It's through child support, things like that. I hate that the majority of us men also don't know how to value our own women like we value white and other women of various other races, like I was saying earlier. That's one of the biggest things about us that needs to change. It reminds me of The Wolf of Wall Street because, Jordan Belfort's character, he started off with a wife. He started off with one type of woman. And then when he started making his money, he dropped her and went for the blonde bombshell. And I'm like, that is exactly what happens when it comes to Black men and Black women, because, we're down here in the same area. And then when we finally figure out a way to make it out, despite everything that they've done, despite the loyalty that has been given to us from them, we find a way to desert them. And that, for me, is one of the biggest things about us that needs to change. I feel for those families who are driven to succeed despite not having a full familial unit. To me, knowing that their joy can also stem from a place of pain. For some, it makes it all the more bittersweet. I honestly also recognize that in the big picture, sometimes the father not being present is ultimately what's better for the family. I do understand that. I do get that. And in certain circumstances, the absence of the father does nothing but remove an additional obstacle that the mother and child don't have to try and overcome. When my daughter was born, it was my wife who was given, and it was my wife who signed all the paperwork in the hospital bed. It was my wife to whom the nurses and staff came regarding all the important information and decisions. Now, I wasn't offended by that. It was just something that I noticed. Because when I actually sat back and put it into perspective, I realized a few things. And in that realization, I recognize that hospitals probably see it all the time. The expectant mothers coming in alone or with a family member or a friend, but not the father of the baby. When I think about that situation, when I think about my daughter being born, it was surreal. because I was realizing that the entire 27 hours that my wife was in labor, I was only acknowledged as the father once I signed the birth record. And I realized just how many fathers aren't there to proudly sign that document. Again, mothers, they have to do and put up with and sacrifice and do so much. Where are we to help ease that burden? Because honestly, I just want this cycle to end. I want Mother's Day and every day thereafter to be celebrated with the highest vibration of power and love. Now, I also realize that this is a lofty goal, but us millennials aren't built like the men of the past. However, I do have to be careful when I say this, because in some cases that can be both helpful and harmful. The thing is, we just have to keep ourselves accountable. We have to keep ourselves responsible. We cannot allow our men to just skate by and continue to be irresponsible. That's going to do nothing but perpetuate this cycle. And we do not need that. So in closing, I just want to put this on you all's brain. When it comes to single mothers, I want you to realize that these women are doing so much to make life normal, and they're doing it by themselves. And for me, that is something that I salute. But at the same time, I hate the fact that we as men have put you in this type of circumstance. We've put you in this scenario. It's not fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to that child. And so when it comes to that, I just want you to know that over here at Tarodcast, we love you. We love you. We appreciate you. We see you. We acknowledge you. We value you. We love you. Especially to all of the single black mothers out there. We love you. And you are the driving force behind a lot of our children's successes. And so I hope that you will continue to walk in your excellence, and that the sacrifices that you have made for your child, I hope that you will be able to go back and get those pieces of yourself that you had to put to the side and reassemble them and allow yourself to be the full person that you need to be as well, because you also deserve to live the fullest life. Okay? Y'all, that's our show. Y'all already know where to find us. You know how to support us. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're using. And if you want to take the conversation further, hit us up on Throne. The links, just like everything else, are in the show notes. Now, wherever you are, whomever you are, I want to always encourage you to be more introspective and vulnerable with yourself. Know who you are, trust in who you are, and love who you are. Again, I've been your host, Tarad Rashan. This has been another episode of Tarodcast. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, night, whatever time you're having. But also, and more importantly, make every effort to find and keep your peace. Till next time.